Hello and welcome to One More Pen. Well, it is officially winter in South Africa, that's for sure. I would be interested in knowing where you are and what the weather is like in your part of the world. We have it cold and windy, and I think it's going to stay like that for a while. So today I want to talk about this pen. So there's been I've been seeing a lot of excitement on the internet about this one. This is the Jinhao 10. Jinhao's answer to the Pilot vanishing point. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to this pen. I resisted this for a long time. I didn't like the design. I didn't like it. It just didn't work for me. But I guess the way these things go, the more you're confronted with something, I started to think, I'm curious about what's all the fuss about. Can it really work well? Does that tiny nib really write well? Is that really possible? And if a company like Jinhao makes a cheaper copy, how good can it really be? And then this one landed in my inbox at a nice discount price, and I decided that it's time. Let's take a closer look at this one. And like I said, there are some things to talk about. I think we should, before I say too much, I think we should just head over to the table where I've got a different setup and take a closer look at this pen and do a writing sample, and I'll tell you about my experience and show you what this pen can do. So we have the Jinhao 10, and like I say, there's a lot of hype on the internet regarding this pen, so I guess I have to take a closer look at it. This shape is kind of weird. I mean, it's not your traditional looking fountain pen, and I guess it makes sense because it is capless. There is no cap. One may make the mistake of saying, well, this would be the cap part of the pen. It would be if the nib was on this side, but this is actually all barrel. I mean, there's really no cap. So alright, I'm not going to compare it to any of the others out there. We've got Jinhao on the clip. This is a nice, I think, broad, smooth clip, the way that I like it. It's quite stiff, but not too much. It's very functional, no problem there. We've got a center band with nothing on it. The clicking mechanism, and then we have so at the front we have the, what would we call that? But this is where the nib is produced from, and you can hear that clicking mechanism. Let me hold it up to the microphone. I think it's pretty smooth. I don't have any problem with it. I've heard some people say that it's not as great as some of the other pens out there, but I think it's pretty cool. I like the gradient color on the pen. It adds an extra element. I think this is gradient gray, by the way. I'm not 100% sure, but I do like this color. I think it makes the pen look like something that would fit into a business setting, but it's not overly formal either. So it's got a bit of a fun vibe to it, which I like. What I have noticed, because there's no cap, there's nothing to uncap here, so you would hold the pen like this. A lot of people said that the clip would be in the way, so I think this might be, it's a pity, because I think this would put off a lot of people from buying this pen or using it if it's in the way for them. For me, and I was worried about it as well, for me, fortunately, the clip is absolutely not in the way. The way that I hold my pen, it actually provides a very nice grip. It makes my grip very consistent, so it actually works very well for me. The nib is quite a tiny nib, and it has to be if it's going to be housed inside there. And I'm wondering if I should, yes, let's, so we've got a O-ring there, so we've got, it seals very well, and a sort of springy mechanism that makes it pop off. And here we have the inside of the pen. That's what it looks like. Very strange for me. The converter fits all the way in there. And this is this the converter that came with the pen? I do believe so. It looks a lot like the Parker converters, and the first time I inked up this pen I wasted the entire converter basically, because I inked it up and I don't remember what I did, but then I pulled it back out and all of the ink ran into this metal section and it ran right through. So so don't do that. Just oh yes, now I remember this, because what I thought I was going to do was to sometimes I do that, I ink up the converter, and like a cartridge I just then essentially plug it in, and that's not recommended. It's better to just, you know, take this thing, dunk it into your bottle of ink and ink it up that way. Sorry about the wind noise, by the way. And this goes in, it's got a little thingy there to make sure that it goes in exactly the way that it should. It's got a nice springy mechanism, and here we start to feel some tension, and that's the O-ring. It seals perfectly, and there we go. Right, this is the pen. It's metal, you can feel some weight to it. It's not too heavy. It's not a heavy pen, but it definitely feels you know, substantial. It's also not thin. It's not a thick pen, but it's got a very nice grip. It sits nice in the hand. It's long enough. The only thing I was wondering about was the where this part goes over onto the sort of the chrome finish. You have a tiny bit of a step right there. But it is consistent all the way around, so I'm thinking maybe it's not intended to be perfectly flush. First I thought that maybe that was by accident, but it's so consistent that I think this is just the way that the pen is designed, so that's not a problem at all, and it's not a step that you would really feel, so no worries there, no problem there. So how does this pen write in the end? That is what matters. Am I going to use it? So let's do the writing sample and find out. Using my Rhodia dot pad as usual, and here we go. So this is, try to keep my hands out of the way, Jinhao 10. This nib is, I think this is a fine nib, by the way. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what it is. This is plenty wet for a fine nib. I've got absolutely no issues with that. It is very smooth. I cannot even hear, there's almost no feedback on this nib. It's almost too smooth, but not. It's pretty good. The ink that I am using here is Lamy Brown, and it's a lovely color, and this pen is plenty wet. As you can see, that ink it's taking its time to dry. It's not dry immediately, and this is the way that I like it. You're not going to get line variation here, but a little bit of pressure, a little bit more. No, I think it stays pretty consistent, and that's perfectly fine. The nib almost has a quality. I've got one or two pens with nibs that you would say that they whistle when you write, and this nib almost feels a little bit like that, but not quite. And I'm going to have to see what happens over time, whether this is something that's going to annoy me or if it's just part of the character of the pen. I'm not sure yet. fox with brown ink. Tiny bit of feedback, but for the most part this nib is really smooth, and I cannot complain about it. This ink is lovely, by the way, and this pen will have absolutely no problem keeping up with any kind of writing. Oh, by the way, I've got the ink here. So this is the crystal ink. I really like the packaging. Put that aside, and these are beautiful bottles. Look at that. Lovely. I can tell you that this bottle seals very well, and when you open it, it's almost like you break a seal. I only inked this up very recently, but ooh, that's nice. I like brown inks, and this is definitely a favorite. I think this is quite close to the Diamine Macassar that I also really enjoy, but this is definitely a little bit lighter. The Macassar is a little bit darker. And then I have a Diamine Walnut that's also very nice. Anyway, back to this pen. I mean, for the price, now what do you pay for this pen? I think it depends on where you buy it. I've seen them with very different pricing. I am seeing them for around I think around $30 in many instances. I think maybe a little bit lower, maybe a little bit more, depending on where you find it. I paid quite a bit less actually, so I think I got a really good bargain on this one. It's not a novelty pen, and that's what I initially thought. I thought, well, this is going to be one of those pens that you buy it's interesting, maybe you use it occasionally, but is it really going to be functional? Would this become a pen that I would carry everywhere in my pocket and use on a day-to-day basis? And the answer is actually yes. There's no reason why not. This pen works as good as any of my other pens that I enjoy. It writes really well. I'm not sure yet if it's the kind of pen that I would write, really long essays with or anything like that. But for everyday use, this is actually pretty fine. I know that some people complained about dry out on the nib, and there are some fixes for that. And I think the easiest fix is just use the pen every day, and that's not a problem for me. I have about 6 or 8 pens inked up at a time at most, and you don't have to do a lot of writing with them. You just need to write a sentence or two just to keep the ink flowing, and the pen won't dry out and you won't have a problem. And if you're a fountain pen fanatic like the most of us, then you probably do that anyway with your pens. So yes, I think this is a really good pen for the price. Considering again what you could pay for another version of this, I think Jinhao did an excellent job. They are definitely showing the world that you don't have to charge, what some companies are charging. Now, I do understand also that when you are the first one, there's a lot that goes into design and research and all of that, and you have to figure out how to make this mechanism work. And of course, that is the case. So I'm not saying that you couldn't charge a little bit more, but I think the price gaps are just insane. But anyway, that's a different story. So anyway, great pen. I do recommend it. I think if you don't have one, it's cheap enough that it's a low risk purchase. You could get one, try it out, see if it works for you, and then if you want any of the others, you could decide whether you want to make that investment. Yes, so I think that is it for this pen. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. I always appreciate the support, and I'd love to hear in the comments whether you have one of these and what your writing experience has been like. And for now, that is it. I'll see you next time.